going to move on to our next co-host for the afternoon. It's Lee Steinke. Lee is a geophysicist and business executive with a track record of delivering hundreds of millions in value through leadership of science, strategy, and operations. Her career spans Fortune 100 to small nonprofit organizations, and she was most recently on the executive leadership team of a billion-dollar PE-backed energy company. Lee chairs the advisory board for the Rocky Mountain Association for Geologists and volunteers at Space Foundation on a program for the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs. She holds a bachelor's from UNC Chapel Hill, a master's from Yale, and an MBA from Wharton. Thank you so much for being here, Lee, and thank you so much for co-hosting the afternoon event with me.
Thank you, Leo. We're so grateful that you've all joined us for Blue Marble Week on the various live stream platforms as well as on this Google Meet. The event today is organized and produced by the Foundation for the Future. The Foundation for the Future is dedicated to the creation of a public-private partnership for space infrastructure development. To support this cause, to become a greater part of the conversation, or to sponsor Blue Marble Week, please visit our website at f4f.space. I'm going to turn it over now to Emily Mishler for a little more information.
Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure to meet all of you and be here today. My name is Emily Mishler, and my background is the intersection of corporate philanthropy and creative solutions for revolutionary ideas. I've recently become affiliated with the Foundation for the Future, and from the nonprofit perspective, have become a partner in building the development arm of the operation. So what does that mean? That means we're financially positioning the foundation to be able to continue this important work and these conversations for years, if not generations to come. From our conversations today, it's abundantly clear that our work is disruptive, necessary, and the time is now. And that means we need your help. I've been both incredibly impressed with the comprehensive vision, expertise, dedication, and momentum of the speakers today, and the vision the Foundation for the Future has, the powering force behind Blue Marble Week. I believe we can all agree that the future the Foundation is building is inspiring and worth investing in. This future, in space and beyond, is being built one relationship, conversation, and connection at a time. In order to continue this momentum in building and contributing to this caliber event, conversation, and community, we need your help. We need you, our allies, attendees, partners, advocates, and friends, to spread the word about our important work through social media, invite like-minded and like-hearted peers to our events, and to help us connect with philanthropists and organizations who believe what we believe, that our future in space is ours for the building and the time is now. We're so excited to announce, much like Tim mentioned, 2 different avenues to become involved if you're interested in financially supporting our work. On the corporate level, we have the opportunity to sponsor Blue Marble Week and the Foundation at large on a monthly and annual basis to support this important work. On a personal level, if you, your friends, or family are inspired to support us, we welcome your contributions to support building space infrastructure and economy. For more information for both opportunities is available at Foundation for the Future's website, f4f.space, as Lee had mentioned, or by scanning the QR code that's on the screen right now. Our invitation for you is to help us in bringing space home, because the time is now and the world can't wait any longer. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Lila, Tim, or any affiliate of the Foundation for the Future. Our contact information and a link to donate is available at the QR code available on the screen, and is also available on our website, f4f.space. I'll be happy to stick around for a few minutes and field any questions, so please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm just going to put myself on not screen so we can keep the QR code up there. But for now, I'll turn it back over to our MCs for our regularly scheduled programming.
Thank you, Emily. This morning's talks have highlighted real-world examples of how people build coalitions to make things happen in space. Next up, we have a workshop on the use of Noumenia, led by Michael Laine. Mr. Laine founded the LiftPort Group with the idea that an elevator to space should and could be built commercially. The concept for LiftPort was simple: to develop the subsystems and precursor technologies needed for the elevator, and to commercialize those as a method of payment for the larger, longer-term project of building the elevator. Areas of focus for LiftPort are robotics, nanotech and material sciences, finance, and media. The Noumenia Process is a tool, a framework for tackling big ideas. It is designed for new, complex, compound problems that don't have simple solutions, ready blueprints, or embedded best practices. It has been used by national transportation and logistics companies, fintech startups, social enterprise nonprofits, and many solopreneurs. It is not another business plan builder. It'll make your plans better. The Noumenia Process is an organizational tool that is the ultimate to-do list for thinking big. Michael, the screen is yours.
God, we've been at this for a year and I still can't figure out where the unmute and mute button is. I keep forgetting it. So today we're going to do something different. Lee, I really appreciate that intro. Thank you. For those of folks that are new to the Blue Marble Week events, this is only our 4th time doing this. So each time we do this, we do it a little bit different. The first one was focused on kind of the grand architecture, what the next 15 years are going to look like, how it's going to unfold. The next one, we talked a lot about launch capabilities, but not just showing off, neat rockets. We all like the hardware. Of course, we like the hardware, but we looked at the economics and the financial impacts of launch. Last month, we had a lot of conversations around Department of Defense and how Space Force, one, needs to improve their messaging, but we also were really fortunate to have, a 3-star general from Space Force joining us. This time, it's a little bit different. It's the first time where we've had a theme that was focused on a specific piece of hardware, the space elevators, both the Earth system that we talked about yesterday and the lunar system that we're going to talk about tomorrow. But each time we do these each time we do these events, we change things up a little bit. And so this time we're going to host a workshop. We've never hosted a workshop before, so I'll candidly tell you I'm a little nervous about this piece. We don't have set rules for this workshop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show you some of the behind the scenes, behind the curtain processes that my team, we're only 6 people, so we're a small team. But some of the things that we do internally to kind of move the idea of the elevator forward, whether it's Earth elevator or lunar elevator. And I really, really hope that y'all will be able to take this and apply it to your own projects, right? Some of you are doing space projects. Some of you are doing completely unrelated to space programs. I just, in the chat learned that David runs a Job Corps program in Washington State, and I hope that y'all will be able to use this same tool set. So I'm hoping it is generic enough that where I can use it for building the lunar elevator, you also can use it for whatever challenges and projects you're working on. So the way I'd like to kind of do this is I'm going to do a lot of PowerPoints. Sorry about that. That's kind of the only way to do this well. But I'd really like it to be somewhat interactive. I've broken this down into kind of 5 big themes. It would be very useful and I think more interesting to y'all if you asked a lot of questions. So I'm gonna brave the shark-infested waters and just ask y'all to just, if you have something you want to say, please just feel free and comfortable to ask the question. And with that, I'm gonna swap over to my slides and we're gonna start this. Should be full screen. I cannot see you the way that I've got my monitors set up. I have 2 screens here, but I cannot see you. So this would be, like I said, I can't see the chat very easily, and I can't see you if you're on video. So just ring out, unmute yourself, and ask questions if you need to. Okay. All right. So, by way of background and introduction, while I've been hosting this Blue Marble Week event, and seriously, shout outs to the Foundation for the Future and their efforts on doing this work. My role here has been primarily as a coordinator and a curator. My main job, for better or for worse, and we're going to talk about my history tomorrow, has been working at LiftPort. I'm the president of LiftPort Group. I've been doing this for a long time. I was originally part of the NASA's Institute for Advanced Concepts Research project on the Earth elevator, and about 10 years ago switched over to focus on the lunar elevator. There's a long story around LiftPort. I'm not going to tell it today. I'll tell it actually quite a bit of it tomorrow. I'm also a board member of the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. They do business plan competitions for the space field. And as I mentioned a little while ago with Gary Martin, I'm about to stop being president of the U.S. Alumni Association for International Space University. My tenure is up. I've been doing space for a long time, but it starts with a somewhat funny story. I have an identical twin brother, and we wanted a fish tank when we were kids. And our folks didn't necessarily want us to buy a fish tank, so we wound up earning it. We had a lemonade stand, and there's a long story behind that. But that was kind of my first step into business planning. And how that happened was we just flat out asked our mom for money, and she didn't give it to us. So she said we could earn it. I learned very quickly I didn't like lawn care work, and doing lawn maintenance. So didn't want to do that very much longer. Wound up making a lemonade stand. And I know that's a cliche, but my brother and I actually did it. And it started with mom loaning us in what we would now call venture capital, because we had to pay it back with a lot of interest, loaning us money, going to the grocery store, budgeting the cash, spending it wisely, doing some marketing, doing some product testing, building a good lemonade stand. Our neighbors started to compete with us. We went and complained to my mom that wasn't fair. She said, innovate. We came up with a better recipe. For any of y'all that have kids, mixing cherry Kool-Aid with cherry Jello and freezing it overnight makes a better Freezy Pop. We put our competition out of business. They came over to reverse engineer what we were doing. They couldn't figure it out. We learned about trade secrets. So these are all lessons that we were learning as a kid, but I found that they were super useful down the road. And that is really kind of how this Noumenia process kind of starts. So we talked about, what is this workshop going to be, and how do you use lessons learned from a lemonade stand to build an elevator to space. So all of those are kind of ridiculous. The thing I'm going to talk the most about today is going to be called the action matrix, and we're going to talk about that later on. By way of background, I went from high school into the U.S. Marine Corps. Surprisingly, I learned a lot about spreadsheets at the time. I learned a lot about leadership. I left the Marine Corps after 4 years, meritoriously promoted, honorable discharge. That wasn't a time without drama. There definitely was some drama there. I'm glad I did it, but I don't miss it. I surprisingly jumped from crawling through the mud to investment management because I had two really tremendous leaders and mentors. I did investment management for several years, managed $4 million of other people's money directly and had influence on 40 million. That doesn't seem like a big number now today, but this is 30 years ago, and that was a big number 30 years ago. I started an internet company during the first wave of the internet back from 1995 to 2001. Developed some real estate that worked out pretty well for a while. Then one day it didn't. That's part of tomorrow's story. And then in my early 30s, I'm 53 now. For the last 20 years, I've been working on space, and I wanted to do space since I was a little kid. When I was in high school, I broke down sobbing while I watched the Challenger explode in front of me. Well, not in front of me, on television, sorry. So I've always come back to space. I've always been interested in it. If the screen was a little bit off, I've got a whole bunch of science fiction and other stories out there. But that's led me to the Earth elevator. And for a lot of folks that weren't on the call yesterday, this is their only interpretation of the space elevator. It's this giant megalithic project. I always point back to this particular image because this came out just a few months after I started working on the project. And 20 years ago, you can see in the top corner when this was issued, this was the popular perception of what the Earth elevator was going to look like. And I worked with Dr. Brad Edwards to craft kind of a new narrative for that elevator. But Popular Mechanics is like, you know what? This image sells magazines. So that's our job. That's what we're doing. And we're not writing a retraction on this article. It was pretty interesting how they responded to that. But in most cases, people that weren't here yesterday, people that haven't been in the space field for a long time, this is still the popular conception of the Earth elevator. And I bring it up because it's been 20 years that we've been doing this work, and this image is still kind of engraved in a lot of people's minds. Maybe some people are better educated about this stuff, but that's been kind of my heritage and my background. And then shifting over to a lunar elevator a couple of years ago was a pretty dramatic shift. I guess I've been doing that for about 10 years now. Again, there's a long story to that. Again, I'm going to tell that tomorrow. But we heard Michael Mealing earlier this morning talking about, is it a business or is it a science project? And I would say it has been a science project for a long time. I believe it is becoming a business. But that's been a lot of my background. As we move forward, this is kind of the thing that I care the most about, is developing out the cislunar iconosphere. Ultimately, that's how I got connected with Tim and Lila and the rest of their team to start figuring out, if on the far left side is the Earth and that little thin line of the LEO and the little larger line of geosynchronous orbit, and all the stuff in between, to the far right corner, this tiny dot is the moon. This image, by the way, is the objects are to scale. So the Earth and the moon are to scale and relative distance and size to each other. Obviously, man-made objects, human-created objects, like a space station and counterweight, are not the size of the moon. So we're not building something that big. But this area, this is what I care about. And my hope is today that some of the stuff that we talk about on the Noumenia process will help you fill in the blanks between the Earth and the moon. Okay? We've got about 20 minutes, 15 minutes for this first section. And I want to share with you kind of the starting point. So going back to my screens here. Dun, dun, dun. So what is the Noumenia process? Well, it's not a business planning tool. Lee just asked, how long did it take us to pay back mom? We made, for the time, and this would have been in the early 70s, we made like $75 in 2 weeks. The fish tank was, maybe it was 2 months. It was maybe a little bit longer. Maybe it was 4 weeks. But the fish tank was only $10. So we did quite well. Like that was a big win for my brother and I. And that led us to like collecting aluminum cans. I didn't like paper routes. We stopped doing that. That was a lot of work that with a much lower payoff. So we stopped doing that pretty quickly. But mom got paid back pretty well. She's pretty proud of that. She is proud of that lemonade stand and the work that we did. All right. So the Noumenia process, it's easiest to describe what it isn't than what it is. What it is a framework and a tool for trying to, think about big ideas. And for us, the lemonade stand was a big idea, right? Because we were kids trying to do something we had never done before. So I don't want you to think that it's confined only to building elevators into the sky. It's a tool for tackling, new complex compound problems. It's not a business planning tool. There's lots and lots and lots of business planning tools. It's not that. But it can make your business plan a better plan. Oh, hey, that's not how I thought that was going to go. It came to life. I've mentioned ISU a couple times today. I went to ISU in 2008, but I started working on the elevator in 2001. And I had my internet company years before that. So it's an iterative process, but it really got its name and it's got some legs while we were at ISU. So as far as I know, I'm the only one using it still after ISU. Noumenia means new moon in ancient Greek. I think it's valuable to name it that because Artemis and Apollo are also Greek. And another project I work on called Oreads is they're the nymphs and the sylphs that help Artemis and Apollo. So I do kind of have an affinity for old Greek. And new moon seemed really relevant at the time. I think it's really hard to pronounce, and I kind of wish I had been branded differently now. But that's where it came from, and that's what it's for. It's a tool for trying to understand new complex compound problems. For a long time, I don't know where I said it the first time, but this has been a quote that's been attributed to me for many years. There's a profound difference between difficult, very, very hard, and impossible. And I've really believed that that's true, that knowing the dividing line between those three is super important, right? Lots of things are difficult, and we do them all the time. Some things are impossible. And when we were first given the mandate through NASA's Institute for Advanced Concepts, that research project, we knew that day one, I didn't start day one, I started about 7 or 8 months after Edwards did. I got hired then. I got brought on the team. Hired is an official word that they don't want me to use. But we knew that the elevator was not possible from the physics perspective of the word yet, right? The Earth elevator. And knowing what you can and cannot do is super important. Things are impossible for lots of reasons. People use that word impossible all the time. I use it very sparingly, because it has a specific meaning. And there's a lot of stuff that's called impossible that is not. And there's a lot of things that are deemed difficult or very hard that are actually impossible. So this is a tool set to kind of look at new complex compound problems. And new can be new to you, right? It's no different, for some folks that want to set up their own print shop or yoga studio, or Tim and Lila are building a new foundation to push a bill through Congress, right? That's new to them. It's also complex, and there are lots of compound problems where you can't get a specific single answer to a specific single question, because there are so many pieces that have lots of coordinating components, right? So that's what this is a tool set for. It's a framework for trying to understand new complex compound problems. This is the whole of the Noumenia process, the stuff we're going to be talking about today. Some of it is not new. Some of it is old school business 101 stuff, normal stuff that pretty much you can find 100 business books on the internet for. Every university has, heck, and not even just universities, any community college level business program has some of these concepts in here. What I have done that is different is I've taken some very common ideas and blurred them and married them with other concepts that I've learned the hard way through experience. But this is the whole of it. This is what we're going to spend the next 2.5 hours on. The parts that are pretty new are sections 3, 4, and 5. And the sections that are pretty well known are sections 1 and 2. But we're going to go into all of them, because one of the things that's really important about this tool is that it is they're building blocks. There's an order to doing this, and if you get the order wrong, you're kind of probably just wasting your time. So the order matters. I used to be able to kind of skip things around and just jump to the pieces that are more interesting to me. But I found that if I've ever done that, I can think of one client in particular, that by skipping steps, it actually led them to waste their money in hiring me in the first place. And it led them to not have the result that they were hoping for. So we actually had to go backtrack to fix some of this stuff. So I'm very specific about the order and the process here. What's also important to note is that it's cyclical, right? That once you go through it, it's kind of a bear to go through for the first time. Full disclosure, this is normally a 12-hour multi-day course that's several $1,000s. And doing it out of order is a disservice to everybody. So I don't want to do that. The other thing to note is that once you've done it the first time, even though I said it's a bear to do the first time, the second, third, fifth, 25th iteration, the times you do it again make the whole thing better. So it becomes stronger the more you do it. It's just like a muscle. Okay. All right. Normal stuff. Vision, mission, values. You've seen this many, many times. It's somewhat easy. And back in the late 90s, early 2000s, consultants were getting paid tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to host executive retreat sessions to figure out vision, mission, values for senior leadership. There was so much hype around vision, mission, values. And by the way, I usually shorthand them to VMV because it's really hard to say vision, mission, values 20 times in the conversation. So there were consultants getting enormous fees. And honestly, I don't think they were really valuable results out of many of those cases. But they were crafting VMVs for a service. And I think it really, I won't say it harmed the companies and the industries that use those services. I don't think that's true. But I think the hype diminished the value of these things. So what is this stuff? Vision. Where are you going? Like, just ask that basic question. Where are you going? Think of it in terms of time. If I'm building an elevator on the moon, I want to think of this not as a 2-year project or a 5-year project. I'm looking at, is this a project like the Golden Gate Bridge where we can really rely on it 100 years afterwards? Maybe the Brooklyn Bridge is a better example. I want to think about, where are we going long term? That's where I thrive. That's what I'm interested in. But if you're building a lemonade stand and your only goal is to get, that darn fish tank, maybe you only have to think about a few weeks, right? So vision helps you scope whatever problem that you're trying to tackle, whatever opportunity you're trying to seize, whatever your ideas are. So identifying that vision in time is really important. I'm not speaking for the Foundation for the Future. I'm just using them as an example right now. But if their goal is to get a bill passed by the end of this legislative session, and I'm not saying that is, again, not speaking for the Foundation, then that's a very different vision than if they want to build an elevator, a space elevator, or space-based solar power, or, we saw ideas and visions yesterday that were, the scope was 2060 for some of them and 2026 for another one. This morning, Tim posted something about 2026 as on a timeline. Where your vision is focused, that's where you're going to spend all of your attention, and that's where you're going to spend your effort. So identifying that vision is super important. If you get that wrong, you should probably quit whatever you're doing, because you're going to spend an awful lot of time and effort going down the wrong path. So it is worth spending some real, brain power on trying to carefully, specifically articulating that vision. Now, once you've got your vision, mission, right? Where are you going? If vision is your distance in time, mission is really, what are you doing now to accomplish the vision, right? What do you do? We are hosting, as a contract, the Blue Marble Week events. That is something that Lila and Tim have committed to as a part of their vision. LiftPort, we have a lot of individual tasks that we tackle as part of our mission. And then values, that was easy to ignore for a long time. Values are how you act along the way. If you're going to go and tackle your vision, and you're going to do daily tasks and goals and objectives to meet your mission, How do you act along the way? Who are you as an organization, as a company? If you're a corporation, they call it corporate citizenry. What are the values of your nonprofit? What are the values of your organization? That it's important to note, you could get hit by a bus. So these values should endure after you're gone. They should be big things that matter and that you fight for, because there's going to be bad days. There will always be bad days. They're just going to test your vision, test your mission, and you're going to wonder whether you're on the right track. Values help you down the path. They help you stay on course, and they're a way of identifying opportunities, by the way. Like if you think this is something really neat and shiny, but it's not a part of your vision, mission, values, you should maybe ignore the shiny thing, because your vision, mission, values should supersede whatever shiny thing is in front of you. You should stay focused on the vision, mission, values. All right. The last piece of this is a tool that is new. You've seen the vision, value stuff before. This part is new. And what I realized somewhere along the line is that how you prioritize the ideas in your vision, mission, values will determine what kind of organization you create. Okay? So there's steps to this. I'm not going to go into them right now, but you can take the ideas of, take all the words of your vision, mission, values, take all of those words and take them and prioritize them. I took 3 examples here. I used the same words, vision, mission, values, the same words of fair, fast, and money. And I mixed them up, and then you come up with different results based on the different priorities that you place those words in. Dropbox, a long time ago, was a Silicon Valley darling. They didn't even have a product when they left Y Combinator. The only thing they were trying to create was a minimum viable product of not a product. Their minimum viable product was a video to sell an as yet uncreated product. And they grew super, super, super fast, and that led to money later. Kickstarter is the opposite. Kickstarter was focused around, doing good things for the artist community in New York. They wanted to be fair. Money was something that was going to happen later. They grew remarkably fast because of their commitment to fairness. And they are now, they chose not to become a Silicon Valley darling. They could have. Instead, they chose to be a beneficial corporation in New York. And I think that goes a lot, that speaks a lot to their values. But if your priority is just money and you want it fast and you don't care if it's fair, then the smartest, easiest thing to do is just simply go where the money is and rob a bank, right? These are all the same words with a different prioritization of your vision, mission, values. Is that super clear? Because if that's not clear, we're not going to get very far here. So the steps of creating this prioritization is somewhat straightforward. Take all the words of your VMV, take them as individual words or individual phrases, and then just order them. What's most important? Okay? All right.
I think you've set the stage really well for getting into some of the details.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to jump into the next piece here.